What's up, guys? It's Mazuma Boxing, and I'm back with another video. All right, guys. Let's talk about specifically Kell Brook, who's preparing for his fight against Gennady Gennadovich Golovkin, September 10th at the London O2 Arena. Yes, Gennady Golovkin is going over to the UK to face Kell Brook in his territory, and Kell Brook's last couple of fights, he has been fighting at the O2 Arena, but now this is a completely different fight. This isn't Frankie Gavin. This isn't JoJo Dan, and I even believe that this isn't Sean Porter as well. Even though he didn't fight Sean Porter in the UK, this is a completely different fight. This is a much more dangerous fight. But Kell Brook has decided, even though he hasn't improved much at welterweight, he's decided to move up 2 weight classes to try and make a big statement against Triple G, which I have no problem with. Um, well, to keep it honest, I do have a problem moving up in weight. Um, because this is just cherry picking at its finest. Even after Triple G has stated that Kell Brook was too small for him to get in the ring with, he continued with he got Kell Brook to sign within 2 days. So um, that's just hypocrisy at its finest. And you know, there ain't nothing much to say about that other than what I just said. But I went on Boxer Scene as I always do, and I looked up this article and when they're interviewing Kell Brook, he's saying that once he beats Triple G, he's gonna be the man. So when I read that, I'm like, okay, Kell Brook has some confidence going into the fight, which every fighter should. Because if you don't have any confidence, then you shouldn't be fighting at all. You shouldn't be involved in that sport at all. If you dedicate your life to a sport and you feel like somebody's better than you, then and your competitive nature isn't there, you feel like you're not number one, then you shouldn't be in the sport at all. So I respect Kell Brook's mentality going into this fight. This doesn't necessarily mean he's gonna win because he isn't, but it's a good mentality to have, like I just said. So when I read into the article, it's mostly about how comfortable he is at the weight, and he's talking about how uh his wife is more satisfied with him now because he's not as grouchy as he is. Um, he's able to walk around with more food in his stomach, so he's able to sleep better than he has ever before, and how he's able to play with the kids now, and it's just he's just saying how satisfied his wife is with him being a happy man, and he's emphasizing how bad um, he had done when moving down to welterweight to fight. He says that he had always been grouchy. He was easily awakened because he had no food in his system, and just complained about how grouchy he was as a person during his training camps, which is completely understandable because if you don't know, Kell Brook is a pretty huge welterweight. Like, um, if you watch his fights, especially against Sean Porter, he looked huge. And Sean Porter usually, his style usually involves him walking down his opponents and getting on the inside and roughhousing them and pushing them around. But when you watch this fight right here against Kell Brook, Sean Porter wasn't able to do that as successfully as he had done with like Eric Bonet and Paulie Malignaggi and even Keith Thurman, because he was able to keep Keith Thurman backpedaling as well. But that goes to show how big and how solid and how strong Kell Brook is at that weight class. So you could tell that he had to have struggled to make weight since he's that big. So in my opinion, I think because he believes he's a big welterweight, that he's a middleweight, which doesn't necessarily mean that that is true. If you look at Kell Brook in this picture, you can see that he has some muscle there. You can see that he looks bigger than usual. But if you really look at the picture, you can see that this man is not as cut up as he usually is, and that's because he has a lot more fat in his body. He has a lot more food, a lot more food he could eat. So it's like it's not like that much muscle is needed. So you can see like his abs aren't 100% like cut up. his his arms don't look as big as they doesn't look like as defined as they usually do, and that's mostly because like he's extremely hydrated, um, and you can see in his other pictures like when he had fought Sean Porter, you can see that he was like ripped up, like his chest, his deltoids, and his biceps and everything in general, that his whole physique had looked completely cut up. And in this picture, you could see weighing 176 pounds in this photo, you could see that he's not cut up as he usually is, and he just looks like he's been eating, which isn't a bad thing. But the fact that he has to eat up to go to his weight class, it shows that he's not necessarily a middleweight, and Triple G is a lot bigger than he is. Just because this man is heavier than Triple G doesn't mean that he's the bigger man. Just like in terms of like body structure and Ego had mentioned in one of his videos, his bone density. You can see that Triple G is the far bigger man. And what was I about to say? Damn. He was talking about how and it was like a lot of subliminal it was like a lot of subliminal statements within the blog as well, insisting that he wasn't going to come back to 147 pounds. He said, oh, my wife would probably get extremely mad at me if I was to go back to the welterweight division after seeing how happy that I am now, comfortably making this weight. And he just kept on hinting and hinting and hinting. And then he said, once I'll beat Triple G, I'll be the man. So who knows what will happen? Who knows what happened after this? So it was like a lot of like foreshadowing as to what he's gonna do after um, he fights Triple G. I mean, Paulie Malignaggi said him weighing that much, it shows that he's not gonna come back to the welterweight division. And now that and I was a little skeptical about that. I was pretty like confident in my head that Kell Brook was gonna come back to the welterweight division. But now after hearing that, that was pretty much like confirming that Kell Brook doesn't have much interest in coming back to the welterweight division. Um, will him losing to Triple G probably bring him back down? Um, I mean, that's extremely possible. I mean, I can see it happening. Um, but you know, um, if he actually pulls up one of the biggest upsets in boxing as of today and like throughout history, then maybe he'll stay at 160 and then they'll vacate. Which Earl Spence Jr. has no problem with. He'll fight anybody for that belt. He just wants that IBF title that Kell Brook has. But we don't necessarily know what Kell Brook's gonna do. I mean, I would love to sit back and see what he does. The fight's coming up pretty soon. I think in about like a little more, a little less than a week. September 10th. Today's the 31st, I believe. So yeah, we have roughly 10 days until the fight happens. And let's just see how Kell Brook is gonna hold up in the fight, which he won't. I think he's getting washed within 6 rounds, but that's just me. Anything can happen in the sport of boxing. And let's see if he goes back down to welterweight. And going back to his physique as of right now, I mean, I don't know how he looks right now, but because I haven't seen any recent footage or pictures of him, except for the sparring, but he was like pretty much covered up, which I'm gonna get to later on as well. He he does, like I said, he isn't shredded like before, and it reminded me of when Conor McGregor's last press conference. He said that if he was gonna stay at 170 pounds, Conor McGregor was like, "Look, man, I want to have abs again. I want to be cut up like I always have been," and Conor McGregor was basically saying how um, his body isn't for that weight class, and that's why he isn't able to have like the shred of physique that he once had at 145 pounds, 155 pounds. And I believe like after the fight, then Kell Brook will basically admit that as well. That's even if he's able to, because he might not be able to hold the press conference after the fight. The fight might end that brutally. Um, and Kell Brook is a good fighter. He's a good welterweight. I mean, he hasn't proved that he was the best welterweight, which I don't understand why he keeps going around saying this. I mean, I guess it's just like within his competitive nature to say so, but he hasn't beaten any of the other welterweights besides Sean Porter. any of the top welterweights he has not proved himself against. Not even Amir Khan, who's from the UK as well. Now we could debate over who didn't make that fight happen, which a lot of people say Khan didn't, but that's not the point. The thing is, he didn't get in the ring with these guys, so he hasn't been able to prove that he's the best welterweight. Now, um, let's see. See, I be going off track. See, and then I gotta catch up with what I was saying. So when I was like saying like I truly believe that when you're sparring, that truly reveals some of your game plan to how you're gonna approach the fight. And that's why, like Freddie Roach, when it was that 24/7 with Mayweather and Oscar De La Hoya, that they cut off the sparring sessions. That's why Mayweather didn't allow people to film his sparring sessions until his last fight with Berto, because he knew it was going to be a cakewalk, regardless of what strategy he brought to the ring. Now, with Kell Brook releasing that footage of him sparring with Liam Smith, who's going to fight Canelo the 17th, which is roughly 17 days, 2 weeks, and 3 days from now. So, as I was watching him, Kell Brook has been getting caught. Like he shows like solid head movement. He always had a beautiful jab, right hand. Seems to be throwing the uppercut more than usual, from what I've noticed in his like recent fights. But the man is getting caught by shots. It's not like this guy is just walking through Liam Smith. He's getting caught with some shots, and if he gets hit by Triple G with those shots, it's gonna be a extremely short night for him. But like I said, anything's possible in the sport of boxing, and let's just see what happens. Um, but until then, let me know what you guys think about this. There's a lot to talk about right here. I would enjoy it if you guys would comment on the section. Thank you for listening.